Okay, so to begin with, I didn't even want to cover this topic. All right, not at all. I did not want to talk about this. I could think about a whole bunch of things that I would rather talk about or that I knew more about. But if there's anything that we've learned in this course, I think you guys can agree, is that data drives decision, data drives design. With that said, here we go. All right, so in many parts of the world, this is a common sight when people vote, all right? And that's in places where there's much technology. In our world, where there's a lot of technology, this is also a common sight, right? We know this icon, don't we? Well, put them together and we have 86ers. That's who we are. And what we do is we're the thought network. We're not the social network. We're the thought network. You're there because you think a certain way. Why we do it? Again, data. 31 of 50 Facebook posts that I looked at, because I wanted to figure out what people were talking about, what people cared about, 31% were of political nature. Much more than any other topic that I thought was going to be far above it. People taking pictures of their kids or whatnot. That actually was 0.25%. Okay, so then when you got to, well, if we're going to have a digital solution, we should look at what the digital landscape looks like, right? So there it is. And then here's what we should probably have, because the leading apps have that, okay? Here is what we're not going to have, okay? We weren't established in 1920, like the League of Women Voters. We don't have access to candidates, so we can't cover their debates, right? That's out of the question. So I said, okay, well, let's figure something out. I know I got data, I got interest, but why do people do this on Facebook? So I had 3 interviews, which are 5 whys. You ask why many times, you try to figure out why are people doing this, right? And from those answers, I got the surveys. I manufactured the surveys, which I got 113 answers from, and I interviewed 7 people. All that data. Give me liberty or give me data. All right? But I need to make sense of it all. That's why we have an affinity diagram, okay? So we already know people talk politics, and they do it on devices. And local is lagging big time, okay? People don't know about their local politicians or their local politics. 71% of people said the country's going to hell in a handbasket. Nobody knew, however, when things were good. So we're not solving a problem. We're really not. It seems like we're just creating a place where people can talk and vent, okay? So of all the things that people said were important, 76%, at least 76% said that economics and social issues were the top of their priorities. Well, 79% of the people fell in these areas. This is a histogram. This is like the amount of people that said, hey, I'm a 10 on social, I'm a 10 on economics, okay? And the same thing. And then if anybody's asking themselves where the 86 comes from, well, it's because there's a little pocket over here that's not liberal Democrat and is not conservative Republican. It's the people in between. And they're an 8 on social and a 6 on economics, hence 86ers. There you go. Those are the 3 high points or peaks. Anyhow, so this is Jada Jason, right? Age 42. He's there, he's working as an IT guy, and he has his highs and lows throughout the day. As he finds throughout the news cycle, he has 3 lows, right, where he finds something, he's upset about it, and then he goes ahead and he posts, and the post just gets out of control, and you got trolls on there, and they're talking about a whole bunch of things. Next thing you know, your comment's just being taken over by people. And then you spend all that time and nothing got done, right? So I guess the crux of it is, must communicate along lines of location and demographics, not just because we're friends. Must control the conversation after posting, otherwise you don't get anywhere. Okay? So we know what we need to have. We form our Moscow, right? What we must have, what the other apps are doing badly, so we don't do that too. We have to figure that out as well. So, okay, I start getting ideas. What features we should include? Well, how do we include them in each page? Right? So I gathered 4 data points, and they kind of said these things, right? Got a little qualitative and quantitative data here. All right? And I said, well, now that I know how the features are going to be within each page, what pages we're going to have and how are they going to interact? So I need to figure out how we're going to organize all those pages. Well, 5 out of 6 said Ronald, you're on the right track. You got the right structure. Then I said, well, let's look at all the other competitors and see how they look. That's how they look. If you squint, you'll see there's a lot of red, a lot of blue, a lot of yellow, a lot of white, some black. So here's my color palette. Kind of figured it out again from the data of what I saw. Okay? Here's a mood board. Somebody being really nice to somebody here. Red, whites, and blues. Organized, but inviting. So put together a style tile. And then I said, well, let's go from mid-fi to high-fi. Again, data all along the way. Trying to figure out how we're going to go from one to the next to the next. And here's Josh. And he thought he was working, right? No, he's not. He's on Facebook. He's on Facebook. So his buddy, that's Jason, right? His buddy, Ronald Ricardo, he was on there on 86ers. And he took a quiz. And he's going to take the quiz too. So he starts disagreeing with things. He starts skipping questions because he doesn't know anything about it. He starts agreeing with other things and all this stuff. And through this, we're getting a pretty good profile of who he is and his likes, right? And then we say, yeah, we know a lot about you. You want to go to your groups? Because there's some people who are like-minded. And we place him in this national map, how your thoughts compare to everybody else, okay? Then he goes, oh, libertarians with a heart. Let's look at that. Let's go there. And it says, lollipops and libertarians. Wow. Look at that. And then, oh, libertarians have been booted out of another national debate. Let's go there. What's going on? And he sees Gary Johnson and Ayn Rand, and they're all there, and they're talking. And he's like, oh, my goodness, let's see what Gary Johnson is saying. This is what Gary Johnson is saying. And he believes he needs to broadcast what Gary Johnson is saying. But in Pittsburgh, because remember, Jason's from Pittsburgh. He needs to have his Pittsburgh people know what's going on. So he broadcasts. And look at this. Oh, okay, you can share on Facebook. Share to my local group. And then, oh, but he needs to be signed in, so he signs up. And he puts some information, which we need to know what local means to him. And then he finishes and says, all right, let's go join that conversation. So he comes over here, he starts his own conversation, right? All he needs to do is put in a title, which basically it takes the conversation he was in before, and now he owns it, but in a local place, right? Now it's visible to people who are local in Pittsburgh, okay? So he puts in his comment, right there, and he likes it, and he's posted, and he's happy, right? He's got 0 comments, he can't have top comments yet, and he leaves, and he's happy. Then he comes back later, he's refreshed, and he says, wow, look, I got 94 comments. Look at that. But then I got a flag next to it. And flagged comments, what's up with that? Gary Johnson. Gary Johnson's now talking bad about what somebody said, which really doesn't make sense. I read it many times. I could not make sense of it. And I said, you know what? This is really negative what Gary Johnson's saying. I think we just trim his comment from the rest of the comments that we've made. Let's go trim that comment. And then I give Gary Johnson a really good reason of why he's getting trimmed from the thread. And trimming from the thread doesn't mean that just gets torn away. That limb that got trimmed, put in the ground, and it is now its own conversation. You guys have that conversation over here. Let's keep that conversation productive and on the right course over here. So send him a private message. He knows why I'm cutting him off, so he's not disgruntled. And that's that. Now we're back to only 28 comments, which are good, constructive comments. Okay? So, boom. That's it. 1 second. So now, okay, so next steps. Jason's on the move, right? So, it behooves us to go ahead and try to make a mobile app, right? Another thing is we should let the numbers guide us again. Are maybe they engaging more with initiatives or with conversations? Because a conversation is an initiative waiting to happen. You can turn a conversation into an initiative, right? You can raise funds, do whatever you need for an initiative, all from this platform, okay? And that's who I am. Thank you.